Hi Boys and Girls Club kids. We are back with our second video on how to make a paper mache mask. And today we're going to start off with our drawings of how we're going to make our paper mache facial features. So I've started with this drawing, and I don't know if you can see it. Let me put my glasses on so I can see if you can see. Yeah. So I'm going to do the Pink Panther. And what I've done is I've started with the shape of my mask. And then I have, oh, there we go. And then I've added lines and shapes to indicate where those facial features are going to go. That way it helps me kind of think about how I'm going to actually create those facial features on my mask. So right now I'm going to go ahead and color it. Now I don't have a very good set of colors. I mean, these are great colors, but I don't have pink. And of course I'm doing Pink Panther, so that didn't really work out for me. I started one here, and you can see it's more red, even though I did try to layer it. I'm going to go ahead and use watercolors, and I will be back momentarily with my finished product. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start painting. I used a darker red, and we'll remember from our painting classes that when you are mixing colors, you always mix the dark into the light. And with watercolors, you don't want to have too much pigment. But I am making a pink. Now this is for my picture, for my my sketchbook drawing for my mask, so I know what it's going to look like. But this is a pretty good tutorial about how to make to paint watercolors as well. Basically, I have drawn my picture on a piece of watercolor paper, and I've drawn really lightly in pencil so that it won't show through too much. But because I'm making kind of a wash, and I don't want to have too much pigment, I want to have mostly water, I'm going to go ahead and let those pencil marks show through, because then I'm going to cover them with ink, and oh, it's going to look really cool. But you can only do that if you can see through it. Now remember, it's because it's watercolor, we want it to be kind of light, and we also always start with our lightest hue, right? So we're gonna, instead of like with almost every other kind of painting, you start with your darker values in whatever area and whatever color you're using, and then you work towards your lighter colors. With watercolor, it's exactly the opposite. You start with your lighter colors and you work towards your darker colors. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm doing the Pink Panther. All right, so I've got a nice pink here. I'm not sure you can see. The lighting is horrible in here. Let's see if I can. Ah, there we go. So you can kind of see the different pinks that I have now. That's a little bit better. All right. I can't see what I'm painting, but you can see my color palette, so we're good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just very, very loosely put in my colors. Now, there are going to be places where two shapes are the same pink. And I'm going to go ahead and put those next to each other because I'm going to be separating those shapes with line, with a black line. In normal circumstances, if you were not going to be doing it that way, then you would want to be more careful and separate those shapes with different valued of the same color. Right, so if it's going to be pink next to pink, you'd want one of those pinks to be lighter. And I'll show you how I'm doing that in just a second. Now, the eyes have sort of sleepy eyebrows or eyelids, so the eyes are kind of half circles on my paper right now. When I separate it with black lines, it'll look different. And then the Pink Panther, because he's so cool, you know, that's why he has those sleepy eyebrows, these sleepy eyes. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white to his cheeks because I want it to be a different value. And I'm not being super careful with this because, like I said, I'm going to divide this into shapes with a black line. But I do want to get that pink on there. There we go. You can kind of see where I'm going with this, right? All right, now I have the top of the nose is sort of a darker pink. It'll be darker than that. Not quite that dark. Okay. And so I'm going to make it a little bit darker than the rest of the pinks. And then the triangle part that goes down is going to be even darker. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. So this, I'm going to go ahead and get all the light stuff off and all the water off and do a really dark triangle here for his nose. And then I have yellow for his eyes. And then I'm going to have to wait for it to dry to do the rest of, to do the outlining. Now I'm going to put a really almost white pink inside his ears because that's the way it is in the picture. So we're getting there. Let's see if I can get this with the light. Oh gosh. There you go. And let me get the yellow in there. I'm going to use a different brush just so that I can get that on there without getting any pink on there. I don't want my eyes to turn orange, which is what they will do if I try to mix them or if I accidentally mix them with yellow. I want them to be yellow like they are in the drawing that I used to draw this. And they're pretty bright yellow too. Now I actually dripped yellow on my guy, and you can fix stuff like that. It's not a tragedy. You can't paint over it like you normally would with other colors or with other paints. Watercolor doesn't really do that, but it will pick up that paint. Let me just do that really quickly before it dries. Okay, now I got it up and I can put the pink over it and we'll be good. All right, so here you go. Pink Panther. And in just a few minutes I'll be back and I'll show you how to put the lines in. It has to dry. Hello, Boys and Girls Club kids. Let's get started on our masks. Now, I missed out on the most fun part. I didn't get to pop my balloon. But if your balloon is still together and blown up, you can just pop it and then pull it out. Now, I have, sometimes your balloon will pop and your mask will collapse. And so all you have to do is just take a new balloon and stick it in there right here where the knot was before. Stick it in there and blow it up until your mask fits around that balloon again, and then you'll have your mask. Mine is nice and hard, and it can't be, it's not, you know, wobbly or collapsing or anything. And my edges are pretty straight, not super straight. So I'm going to find my glasses. I'm going to cut some of these edges off. Now, when you do this, if you start to try and do too perfect of a job, what happens is you end up with no edges and hardly any mask, because you just keep cutting and cutting and cutting until you hardly have a mask left. That's not what we want to do. We just want to get the edges straight. Okay? Just get them straight to where they're not all squabbly. Because this is a piece of artwork, and we want our artwork to be, you know, nice and neat and well done. We want to have craftsmanship. All right, so I've done that, and I have pretty straight edges, but you know, they're still kind of like sharp, and you know, you can see stuff like this. So I'm going to fix that, and you are too. The next step in our process, of course, we want to have our drawings done so we know what we're going to do. Okay, so if you don't have your drawing done, then you're not at this stage yet. You have to get the drawing done first. Okay, but now I'm going to rip up my paper, which is kind of fun. And I'm going to actually paper mache around my edges. And that's going to make these edges nice and smooth. So, and remember, I like nice and short pieces of paper. And because we're going around the edges, I'm going to actually make them even shorter than they were before. So I have ripped them lengthwise, and then I'm going to go where it folds, and I'm going to rip that in half. And then I'm going to rip that in half. And this one's probably not going to be a really good one for me to use, so I'll put that away. And I'm going to do that because I want these pieces to be kind of short. Now, I'm going to have some long pieces too. Okay, but right now I'm just going to have short pieces. All right, and then these are going to be my longer pieces. And they're going to just be half instead of quarters. And now I think I am ready to go. All right. So, and I have more in case I need it. But it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be some. And this is a really important part of the process because the edges, if they're nice and strong, will hold the whole mask together. And it'll last for years and years and years. If you remember that mask that I showed you with the blue face, I made that like 12 years ago. And it's still really strong and still really good. All right, so I'm going to follow the process that I've followed all along. Let me just show you. I'm going to put it in the paste. I'm going to pull it through, and I'm going to take off the excess, and I'm just going to wrap it around the edges. And I'm going to go ahead and do it like this, even though it might take a long time to do the whole edges that way. And I might be tempted to try to do it this way. That's not going to be as strong. So I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to take my time and get it right so that this mask lasts for years and years and years and years. So that it's a piece of artwork that's well crafted and will hold together and stand the test of time. right, so I have all of them done, and now I'm going to use my longer pieces to just make sure that those edges stay down. So wherever they land on here, you see they're like a line here, I'm just going to kind of put a band around them so that they stay down. And I'm going to do that on the outside and on the inside. On the outside, and then again on the inside. And that way it'll be nice and strong. Remember, this stuff seems like it's just water, like white water or, goopy stuff, but it's actually glue, and it turns everything to be a really strong, hard surface. So when I do this, I'm actually making my mask stronger, and that's what we want. We want a nice, strong mask. Now, the other thing you have to have is a really smooth surface, because we're going to be painting these. And it's hard to paint a surface if there's a whole bunch of paper sticking up all over the place, or if there's a whole bunch of wrinkles all over. So that's one of the other reasons why we're putting this kind of band around it, to make sure that all those pieces of paper that we have wrapped around it, the sides, are nice and smooth where they end. And so inside and outside, I'm adding long strips right around the edges of the paper. You can see where they end, and I'm putting this paper right over it. Now on the inside, if it's not super duper smooth, it's okay, but you want to make it look as nice as you can. Craftsmanship is always important, even in the places that people might not see. Some people actually paint the insides of their masks because they want them to look nice on the inside and the outside. So, you might be one of those people. All right. Okay, I'm going to add my black lines now. You ready? Here we go. So I'm basically just outlining all the places that this cartoon is outlined in. The eyes. And I'm going to go ahead and fill that black pupil in with black paint when I get done, but I'm going to put it in there. You can kind of see he's, the reason why I liked Pink Panther is because he was kind of a cool cat, and sometimes when I was younger, actually sometimes even now, I get my feelings hurt when people get mad at me, or when maybe they say I haven't done something right, and I feel bad about that, and I don't feel like a very cool cat. And that's what I liked about Pink Panther, is that he was a cool cat. And he just, he never really hurt anyone. He wasn't bad, but, he was always cool. And I liked that about him. So there I've just outlined everything with a black pen. And now I'm just going to take my tray and my black paint. I'm just going to put a little bit, I probably put way too much paint on here before. I don't really need that much. And I think, those lines I don't think are very thick. I think I'd like them to be a little bit thicker than they are. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to my black. Not a lot, because I want it to be dark. But the thing about it is if you want something to be light with watercolor, you can always add more water. But you want to make sure that you don't add too much, or it'll just turn out like this would probably just turn out like a really light gray. As it is, it's more of a like a charcoal gray. And I'll just show you what I'm going to start on this one so you can see what it looks like as I'm working on it. You know, you also may notice that I'm holding my paper down. That's because as I was painting, you know, with watercolor, it'll actually enter into those fibers of your paper, and it'll make it kind of wrinkly. It's not what I want. And so I'm going to hold my paper down so it doesn't move around on me while I'm trying to paint. You know, you don't want it, it's hard enough to get these lines the way you want them without the paper jumping around all over the place. Alright, so this is what I've done so far. And you can see these darker lines look a little bit better. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish. There he is. Now, I have to figure out how to do this on a mask. I wonder how I'm going to do the whiskers. I promise his chin is pink. It's just that the lighting is so bad. There you go. No. I wonder if I should use string or... I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it. Maybe you can tell me what you think.